I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.
Well, I did want to deal with the whole NFL Gruden thing. I think there's a lot of different angles to go with that. Of course, people know that John Gruden had to resign. He was forced to resign as the coach of the Raiders in the NFL because of some emails that he sent that had anti-gay, anti-black, anti-woman, just anti-everybody. He was an equal opportunity anti-er.
He just
he's
went in.
he's a habitual line stepper. Uh, you know,
That's
so he
it.
was. I mean, but the thing is, and I have to say, I'm not surprised by this. No, I don't think many of us are surprised that this kind of stuff happens. But I think, and you all hit on it. I think during the week they mentioned it during the Remix Morning Show, and I believe correctly, and other analysts, even on the sports shows that I kind of checked out some of the clips, that they said that basically this is not just basically that John Gruden is the sacrificial lamb in this whole situation, and that they really wanted to make this go away quickly. The Raiders were given the first they were given the racist emails, the anti-black emails, thinking that the Raiders would fire him or force him out early last week. Of course, now that didn't happen. So then they released the rest of the emails, which of course led to him being put out. But I think it kind of, in a sense, kind of underscores something a point I was making last week when, particularly, offending black people is not sufficient enough, for you to be fired. You had to add some other folk up in there, and that was kind of the point I was making last week about the whole thing with Chappelle, and not saying that any of it is acceptable, but I'm just saying that in this world, offending black folks is kind of like it's kind of like what we do in America. It's like no big deal. But when the other group started becoming, offended, that's when all hell broke loose, and he had to go. But it also talked about it. It also revealed the fact that there's this old boys network in the NFL, because he was sharing emails with people and obviously he was comfortable, saying certain things to people. Just take your interview last night that you just shared with us. There's certain ways that you kind of like when you're in certain company, you kind of have to kind of temper your thoughts a little bit. You have to kind of based on the environment that you're in, you got to speak a certain kind of way. You got to move a certain kind of way. That's strategic in most instances. But in this case, he was very comfortable, so he was able to share his thoughts with Bruce Allen, who used to be an official with Washington, with Tampa Bay, where he had coached and won a Super Bowl and other teams. And then, of course, Bruce Allen is the brother of George Allen, who once was the governor of Virginia, who we may recall a couple of years ago, he made an anti-Asian slur during a campaign that somebody caught macaca on film. And so we saw that. And then, of course, both of those dudes are the sons of George Allen, who used to be the coach of the Washington football team, which had a racist name for many years.
The Nixonian coach.
The Nixonian coach, so and their theme song, by the way, it's they say hail to the so and so, fight for old DC. It used to be fight for old Dixie, was what it used to be. So they have a long history of racism in that franchise, and of course that's where the emails emanated from, an investigation of that particular team around sexual misconduct and in the workplace, and many women had been arguing for them to be held to account. And again, they weren't, but then the emails came out, and then of course all hell broke loose. But it just shows too also that the NFL has 650,000 emails, which means that they are similar, probably more than likely similar emails circulating around. But because John Gruden was the low man on the totem pole, he was the one that was given up for sacrifice. And people say, oh, look at us, we're doing so great. We got all these NFL cares or NBA cares or whatever. We doing all that. We giving money to this, we're giving money to that. We got Jay-Z now, procuring the Super Bowl talent with people like Dr. Dre, who has a history of beating up on women, and they allowed him in there.
Barnes,
shout out to D Barnes, but that's okay. So black women, because he beat up on a black woman. So that's black
right.
women, and so that's fine, because it's just a black woman.
That's right.
But so you have all of these instances, and so the NFL Players Association wanted to get the rest of these emails, released, and of course the NFL is not trying to do that. Meanwhile, you had Colin Kaepernick, situation, and Colin Kaepernick now said he's been working out 5 days a week, and he wants to try to come back in the NFL. But the larger context for me with that is the fact that Kaepernick, if we recall, he filed a lawsuit against the NFL for collusion, saying that they colluded to keep him out. So the fact that the NFL doesn't want to release some of these 650,000 emails is really, quite telling in terms of this whole collusion piece, because they're colluding again to keep from the public information about some of the practices that may be racist, that may be anti-gay, that may be anti-woman, that may be a whole lot of things. I mean, this guy didn't even want, just going back to Gruden, didn't even want female officials in the woman officials, referees in the games. And of course, nobody chided him on any of that, on any of the things that he said. There was no pushback from what we've been able to see, because the NFL is not allowing some of these emails. So this is a much larger story than what even some of these people on some of the talking heads on some of the news media are putting forth. And then the last point on this was something pretty sad. We saw the brother Randy Moss. I actually met him. He's a nice guy. I actually met him before, and like in a personal space, like we had a mutual friend, and we were like shared space. Maybe
Okay.
About 4 years ago. So we had a good conversation, talking football. Good brother, for the most part. Not saying that he's politically anything. I'm just saying he's just in general just a pleasant person.
Mm-hmm.
But he ended up talking about this situation and ended up crying on the TV, talking about how he's saddened that in 2020, 2021, we still have this issue of racism. We got so far to go, and it's like, but it just kind of shows you the political naivete of a lot of our folks. I don't blame him for that. But then your boy Jason Whitlock came after him and said basically, I'm not that sensitive. He's too sensitive and so forth. So Randy Moss put out a tweet saying on site, basically, I'm gonna whip your ass on site, basically.
Oh, wait. What did Whitlock say that got Moss upset?
He was basically making fun of him for crying about racism and basically saying he's too sensitive, and this and that. And then so, and I'll see if I can pull up the piece. And then so my man Randy Moss was like, he just put up a tweet that said on site, and of course, in the culture we know what that means.
Yeah,
and then he took it down. Yeah, so
yeah, you should take it down. Look, the minute you have decided that that's your approach, that's when you should be most quiet.
That's right.
Yeah. That's so when that's my joke used to be, when you don't hear from me, watch out. Mm-hmm. Watch out.
That's it.
No, I'm just playing, because I'm too old. I don't mess with anybody. And I don't want to be messed with, and I don't want to invite Whitlocks and them's after me either.
And he this is what it is. So Whitlock published a story on Monday, and he spelled Randy with an I, which is like usually reserved for women, the feminine aspect of the name.
Wow.
And so he wrote back, on Twitter, on site. So he said no. Tears for Jeers. He called it a Tears for Jeers campaign.
No, but what you sent me, this is the best. This is the best response I've seen to the whole John Gruden controversy. Mm-hmm. I really got a kick out of this. Where is the outrage when black NFL players call white people cracker? Mm-hmm. I said this is in the Washington Examiner, of course. The revelation of John Gruden's controversial emails resulted in the kind of blowback that is expected nowadays. Cries of racism, public condemnation, public apologies, and statements akin to "see, I told you white people were racist" dominated headlines. Randy Moss even openly wept on television, saddened that Gruden's email was a sign that we are moving backwards as a country. Yet for all these emotions over racism, these theatrics lack consistency. No one is defending Gruden here. But where is this outrage when Antonio Brown called, incidentally, Raiders executive Mike Mayock a cracker? Kaba, where is the outrage?
Yeah, it's so much outrage
And there
that
were
a player.
more examples. I did not even know there were this many.
I didn't either. I knew
Whitehead.
about that other one. I didn't know about that one. Yeah.
I knew about the first one, right? I didn't.
Yeah, I
know
knew about the
Antonio.
first one. Yeah.
But Jermaine Whitehead, a defensive back for the Cleveland Browns, called Dustin Fox a cracker. Wait, there's more. Deshaun Jackson made anti-Semitic Instagram posts, right? He posts attributed to Hitler and anti-Semitic statements and the Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan. Or as this white man said at a bar I used to work at right there on Kenilworth Avenue in just outside DC, Louis Farrakhan. He asked me one day when I was bartending years ago, what do you think about Louis Farrakhan? I said, sir, there's no politics or religion at the bar. You know better than that. Wait. There are other examples of racist comments by black NFL players. Devin Funchess used an anti-Asian racial slur while speaking with reporters. What did he say? I don't even know about that. And Carlton Davis tweeted an anti-Asian slur. I didn't know about that. What did they say? What was the anti-Asian slur?
I don't know. If you click on the hyperlink, it might.
Yeah, I was trying to resist that, but let me see what it says real quick. Let me just see real quick because I know I don't think it's.
No, they don't go into all of those. They just kind of like bring them up. He just kind of brings it up.
Yelling "dinger" or "dinger,"
right? Because there was an ESPN journalist that they say "dinger." It's another way of saying home run. They call it a dinger, and one of them actually said. And they said nigger instead of. I actually remember that. It was a couple of months ago.
And he said nigger instead of dinger.
Instead of dinger, yeah. So then,
that's an easy mistake. Obviously, that's an easy mistake to make.
Right. So people were saying, that was, that it was a short little story, 20-second story.
Anyway, I can't find it. I was trying to find the anti-Asian slur, but I just couldn't find it. Oh, I thought there were more cracker examples. That was it.
No, that was it. Yeah. Right. Well, there's several things. Obviously, we don't really. I mean, we know it's not done in good faith, but I mean, come on. I mean, like, first of all, you're talking about workers, right? Who are at the whim of management, so they really don't have any power other than to just say a word. For one, I mean, and again, it's that old thing where they try to equate, words with actual institutional, racism, right. Where that really flexes their power. And then another thing is, I'm from Florida. I'm from a region where they have cracker festivals and they talk about cracker culture. So the cracker is a word of white origin. The problem is, and many people may not know this.
Yep.
Yeah, people may not know this, but Florida is one of the leading livestock states in America. There's a lot of livestock. It's like number 5. It's like in the top 5 of livestock. And at one point, it was actually the leading producer of livestock, including cattlemen, and they use cows and horses and things. As a matter of fact, where I'm from, back in the day, there was actually a whole area where they had pastures, and people don't really think about Florida. And I'm from a beach town too, so it's not like in northern Florida, which is typically more southern, so to speak. This is like central, southwest Florida. So we had a beach, and then we also had cows and horses and things like that. So it's very interesting juxtaposition. But those people were, they were crackers. The Scots-Irish, of mostly Scots-Irish descent, and those were the ones that were the most, egregiously racist against Black people, to the point where crackers became synonymous with racist. So when we would call Black people in Florida call white people crackers, it's just a normal piece. And Antonio Brown, by the way, is from Florida, so it makes sense. Even Black, you can have a Black dude who's got a white girlfriend, and he still calls white people crackers, because that's just the culture. We call them crackers. That's just, I've always, before I read the first Malcolm X, the first anything, call it whatever, I'd call white people crackers my whole life, because that's what we do. I can even remember a video of one of the survivors at the time from the 90s of Rosewood, and she was recounting what happened to them, and she was just very, matter of factly saying, yeah, we did such and such, and them crackers did this, and then the crackers came and such and that, and the crack. That's just how we talk, and for a lot of us, it's kind of dying now, but for the most part, when people of my generation and back, that's what we call them. So the fact that they're trying to use this, is just it's crazy, because that's,
well, I mean,
that's
because
the word that we came up
obviously,
with.
but obviously, Kaba, what you're showing evidence of, and what this author was trying to inform his audience of, is that Black people have just been running amok with their racism,
Yeah, right.
and verbal abuse for decades, and it's time to be checked. I mean, it's enough is enough. So if John Gruden is in a few emails, I mean, so what? Or that should be challenged on the equal basis with these Black folks just clearly, again, running amok with their verbal abuse and racism. So
and it's interesting
your
that
evidence of it.
Well, he went into all of that, but he should be calling for the emails to be released then, if that's the case.
No, and obviously that's really, first of all, the two points that you raise are points that I think need constant reminders. One, there's the 600+ thousand emails remaining to be dealt with, and then there's also the fact that this all started with an investigation that is still ongoing into the Washington football team, Dan Snyder's organization, and this entire I don't pay attention like I used to, but for decades I gave an inordinate amount of attention to this formerly racist name, and still ignoble in practice, apparently, organization that destroyed a fan base, wasted an opportunity, and has apparently been doing so much more than I even realized as a former fan. So, by the way, I would encourage people to go into the I Mix What I Like archives for a great conversation I had some years ago with DC sports journalist legends, Dave Zirin and my man Kevin Blackistone. Shout out to the both of them for a great conversation about the history of the Washington football team and the area, the DC area, all of that, the history, the false reporting, the bad journalism around the name, and what so-called Native Americans do and don't want. So anyway, please go check that out.
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.